I spent 7th grade through 12th grade waking up at 5 a.m. I got bullied really hard. I got music theory beaten into me for 6 years. I had terrible imposter syndrome. I was with a group of people who I felt were so much more talented than me, and I felt really, really insecure. And yeah, it was really hard for me, especially because of my body type. I remember one of the heads of my program said to me, you need to lose 20 pounds. And that was very difficult to deal with, of not feeling like I fit into a very specific mold. If I had had teachers who believed in me, I might have been successful. No one was mentoring or helping me. I was so fucking bad. I'd been doing music theory at an AP level for 6 years. And so I was the only freshman in the class, and everybody else was an upperclassman. No one wanted to be my partner. I was by myself. And I remember my professor at the time was like, hey, I don't think you should take the second semester of this class. And that absolutely destroyed me. Only one professor affected me in a positive way. And I still think about that person. He made me feel like I could do this. But then I also had my mentor in college who was terribly emotionally and mentally abusive to me. And it was one of the toughest relationships that I've ever dealt with in my life. He tried to break me. I had an angel investor come on who said, I want to fund this. And for the past 6 years, she has funded everything that we've done. For the first 10 years of my career, I never profit. We did a show in London, and they invited a bunch of producers and investors to that show. And one of them walked out of it and said, this is ready and I want to take this off-Broadway now. We think that this is possible.
We are here with Kailey Marshall, actress, singer, songwriter, producer. Kailey, how are you?
Great. Thanks, Aiden.
Let me ask you this. When did you start performing? How early did that start for you?
Yeah, that started super early. So I think I was in dance classes like starting 1 or close to 1. It was like mommy and me, like baby stuff. But yeah, I started dance lessons first. And then I think like the moment where I was like, I'm addicted to this shit was, I think it was 3, and I was doing a duet dance to Soul Man. And the other little girl and I like were dancing, and I just slotted myself right in front of her so that everybody would watch me instead of her. And then I like walked up to my family afterward and was like, I stole the show. I stole the show. So yeah, if that gives you any idea of how ready I was to be in performing, it was there.
You're a star. That's so early. I've never heard anybody starting that early.
Yeah, I mean, it was so like all of us could like barely walk and like learning to do little tiny things. But yeah, that's where I started.
So you started with dancing. When did singing, acting come into the picture?
I think I was always singing and acting. Like I would always try and force my parents to recreate scenes from Disney movies with me. Like I did a lot of playing the opening scene from Beauty and the Beast with my parents, where I needed them to be like the librarian or the bookshop guy or the Maurice baguettes, hurry up. Like I needed them to do that. So I did a lot of that at home. But then I'd say like when I first started doing it outside of the house was probably when I was around 4 or 5, and I started doing community theater in my neighborhood. And I did that for very, very many years at this community theater. And I think that's where I really like learned 90% of how to perform.
You've been doing this for a long time.
I mean, wanting to be an artist and wanting to be in the cutthroat industry that is entertainment, you really have to love it and also be like, there's nothing else that brings me more joy than this. And like, I felt that very early. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. My parents tried to talk me out of it for as long as humanly possible until they realized that it was not possible to talk me out of it. So yeah, I've been doing this a really long time.
Did you study theater in university?
I did. What really started, like, I guess I would call my professional career was I actually auditioned for this magnet school in Colorado called Denver School of the Arts. And they had different majors, and it was a 6 through 12 school. And so I auditioned to be a vocal major, and my parents let me audition because they were like, there's no way that she's going to get in because it's so competitive. And then I got in, and they were like, oh, shit, we got to let her go because we said that she could go if she auditioned. But it was 45 minutes away from where I lived. So that's why they were like pretty anti. So yeah, I spent 7th grade through 12th grade driving 45 minutes to school each way and like waking up at 5 a.m. to get on a school bus at 6 so that I can make it to school on time. So yeah, that's where I started.
That sounds like a movie. That's crazy.
It was honestly the best place for me. I was talking about this with my parents the other day. I do not think I would have survived regular high school. Like, I think that I was such a weirdo. I was so passionate about what I was doing. And I think if I had gone to a regular high school, that would have gotten beaten out of me pretty fast. I got bullied really hard in middle school anyway at a arts high school. So, like, I think I would have had a really tough time. So I adored that school. I loved every second of being there. Was it really hard? Yeah, it was very intense, but it really taught me a lot about how to be a professional from a very young age and like what that's required of you. So then when I went to college for a BFA in musical theater, I was already very aware of a lot of the things that you do in conservatory programs, like juries. I've been doing vocal juries since I was in 7th grade. So that was like not a new concept to me. So I feel really, really grateful to DSA for what it taught me about how to conduct myself professionally. But also, I got music theory beaten into me for 6 years. And why I'm able to do what I do today is because of what I learned there, specifically when it came to music theory.
It sounds like really intense training. When you got to college, was the university program challenging after having all that experience already?
1000%. Because even though I knew the mechanics of a conservatory program, I was thrown into a new pool of people who I thought I had terrible imposter syndrome. I was with a group of people who I felt were so much more talented than me. And I felt really, really insecure for the first couple of years of college. And yeah, it was really hard for me, especially because of my body type. I remember one of the first things that one of the heads of my program said to me is like, you're in this really weird in between spot. Either you need to lose 20 pounds or gain 20 pounds. And that was very difficult to deal with, of not feeling like I fit into a very specific mold. And also, I didn't really know who I was yet. None of us do when we're in college. But I think if I had just been like, hey, I'm not trying to be like everybody else, this is what I do well, I think I would have been a lot more successful. I had some really amazing teachers and I had some really bad teachers. And I learned a lot from both sides of that equation. And I think that if I had had teachers who believed in what was unique about me a little bit more, I think I might have been a little more successful performing in college. But all of this is meant to be because I was not being considered as a performer as much in college and no one was really like mentoring me or helping me with that. I really threw myself into musical theater writing in college, which is never something that I expected for myself. And because of that, I was able to put a lot of energy and time and develop talent in that. All this to say, when I first started writing musicals, I was terrible. I was so fucking bad. It's so embarrassing to look back, but you need to be really bad to get good.
That is a skill that very few people have, writing musical theater. How did you know where to begin when writing musicals?
I didn't know where to begin at all. I had tested out of the freshman music theory class that everyone was supposed to take because I had been doing music theory at an AP level for 6 years. And so they were like, oh, you can do this musical theater writing class that one of the professors here is doing for the very first time ever. And so a lot of that class was him really teaching us about the mechanics of writing musical theater. And so a lot of it was just, I didn't know where to start. We just got assignments of like, hey, you need to write a song for this specific scenario, or you need to come in with, he'd just give us a lot of prompts of things to try. And so that's where I started. I wrote a really terrible scene that was based off of my breakup with my high school boyfriend. And I remember it was really, really bad. I think I wrote a few songs for specific prompts, none of them good. So that's really what I started doing, was just quick prompts for things. And then I did that first semester and I was not good. And I was also the only freshman in the class and everybody else was an upperclassman and everybody else had kind of like found a partner to be their co-writer or their buddy. And no one wanted to be my partner. I was by myself. And I remember my professor at the time was like, hey, I don't think you should take the second semester of this class. Like, I just don't think you should. And that absolutely destroyed me. And then I wasn't going to do it. But then I said, fuck it. No, I am going to do it. I didn't want to let him tell me what I could or couldn't do. And I was like, I'm enjoying this. I want to try to get good. And so I was the only person who wrote by myself in that second semester class. And I remember over the summer, our assignment was we had to write a full treatment of a show that we wanted to write. And what a treatment is you're writing the musical like it's a story. That like this happens and then so-and-so sings this. And you use that as a way to kind of like break out the rest of your show. And I remember writing that. And that was the big project that I worked on for most of my time in that musical theater writing course was that show. So yeah, that's how I started, was like from a treatment. And that's still how my process works today, is I tend to write a treatment song spot, which is where you look at your treatment and say, oh, this moment should be a song. And then what I typically do is I try to find the 3 song moments that sound the most exciting to me to write. And I'll start writing those 3 song moments. And then I'll start writing the script simultaneously as I continue to write the other songs.
It's crazy to me, like a lot of people come on the show and they talk about maybe like mentors or like places where they were supported. But it sounds like not only were you not supported, I feel like people were actively making your life harder and you still persevered.
Yeah, it's a yes and situation. I think that all the people in my college experience taught me something, whether it was through them helping me or not helping me. I only remember one professor in college who really affected me in a positive way. And I still think about that person. He was fantastic. He made me feel like I could do this. But then I also had my mentor in college who was terribly emotionally and mentally abusive to me. And it was one of the toughest relationships that I've ever dealt with in my life. And a huge reason why I am the writer I am today is because of him and things that he taught me. He's very talented. He's very smart. And so much of what he taught me is stuff that I use today. So I have to say thank you to him for that stuff. But also, I am the writer I am today in spite of him and in spite of how he tried to break me. So yeah, I think I've been an underdog for a lot of my life. And I like being the underdog. And I think 90% of being successful in this career is just staying in it and saying, I'm going to keep trying, even when you're told that you're bad or you suck or they're not looking for this right now. 90% of it is just keeping going. And I am always going to keep going. Either what will happen is my talent will become undeniable over time and people will recognize that and I will become successful. Or I will be doing this for so long that people will eventually be like, God, we've got to throw that woman a bone. She's been here forever. Let's help her out. So either way, it'll happen if I just stay in it.
Who are some of your inspirations?
I think there's people who I look to their careers and are people that I think are wonderful storytellers. I'd say people who are inspirations for me in terms of just storytelling would be Bruce Springsteen is a huge influence. Charlie XCX is a huge hero of mine. I think she is fantastic and brilliant. I would be nowhere without the amazing piano goddesses of the early 90s and late 90s of Tori Amos and Fiona Apple. Sarah Bareilles is a huge inspiration. Olivia Wilde. I want to be a storyteller like Olivia Wilde. That woman is doing some great work. I just saw the invite. Favorite thing that I've seen this year. I think I am a content whore and that I just consume content all the time, whether that's film, books, TV, and I bring all of those pieces of storytelling into what I do. So I'm constantly looking for the next person who's going to inspire me. And sometimes they'll inspire me for a season and I'll forget about them. Other times they're people that I really look to continuously. You'll notice I've not named any musical theater people in that roundup. And I'd say that's because I'm a pop student before I'm a storytelling student before I'm a musical theater student. My 2 favorite musicals of all time are Legally Blonde the musical and Parade the musical. And I hate that both of those are written by men. I wish that my 2 favorite musicals were written by women, but there's so few women writing in musical theater, or that's not true. There's a lot of women writing in musical theater. There are not a lot of women in musical theater writers who are getting produced at a large scale. That's pretty rare. But I'd say like musicals like that, those are my 2 favorites. I think Larry O'Keefe is a fantastic writer. I think Jason Robert Brown is a fantastic writer. I don't know Larry O'Keefe's reputation very well, but Jason Robert Brown's kind of a dick. And I don't love that about him. But damn, can the can the guy write a catchy tune? And Shayna Taub is also somebody who I deeply look up to. And Janine Tesori.
Wait, I love this because you know what? Every time I talk to a musical theater artist, they always say Idina Menzel, Kristen Chenoweth, the usual suspects. But I love what you said about let's find a good storyteller. And that's something that transcends mediums.
Exactly. And that is what I aspire to be, is a fantastic storyteller. And you can tell stories in so many different ways. What the industry of musical theater is missing right now is everybody remembering that story is the function that drives everything. And if the pieces around it are not supporting the story, they're not important, and it's not going to help propel. I firmly believe that musical theater is the hardest storytelling format to make happen. It is the most difficult to write. And that's why people don't do it, because it is so much harder. Because in all storytelling, you are asking an audience to suspend disbelief. That's always going to be something that you're asking for, because this is a story. It's not real. In musical theater, you are asking an audience to suspend disbelief in such an insane way that all other mediums do not require. Because not only am I asking you to believe that what you're seeing on stage is real, and that's very, very difficult to do every single night for 8 times a week. Whereas a film, you do it a couple of times, you have more special effects, you're hiding those. That's a lot easier. So that's tough. But then also, you are asking an audience to suspend disbelief in a way that you're saying, this moment is so important and emotional to this person that they have to break out into song about it. It is so hard to get an audience on board with that dynamic because it's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. That never happens ever in a million years. No one is ever like, I'm feeling so much, I have to break out into original song about my inner monologue. The only way that an audience is able to suspend that disbelief that hard is if the storytelling and the writing is seamless. And that is so hard to do. And that's what I'm trying to do all the time. And I don't always do a great job of it. But that's when it's really magical, is when it feels seamless like that. And I think there's only a few musicals that I've seen recently on Broadway right now that are doing a good job of that.
Is there a show that you think is overrated? Is there a show that you think the story is not so great?
I mean, most musicals, honestly, but of what's playing right now, where the music's great, but the storytelling's are Six. I think the music in Six is awesome. I love the concept of Six. I think it's so great, but I think the storytelling there is meh. Wicked is great storytelling. It is perfect. Same with Hamilton. Those are 2 shows that I think are so rock solid in how they're telling the story and how the music interacts with that. Those are gold standard shows. Cats, that's a great one. Cats music is fantastic. That story sucks. It makes no sense. It's wild. However, the Cats revival that's about to close, that is a travesty that's closing, because what they did with that is they said, we're going to take this story and we are going to change it in a way that does not change the actual, the music or anything like that. They're just framing the story in a different way. And it made Cats 10,000 times more powerful than I've ever seen Cats, because Cats is a nonsense fucking musical. And this revival gave it heart and story and structure and meaning. And I thought that was awesome.
That sounds amazing. Tell me about your most recent project.
The project that is getting the most attention right now is my show called Songs for Slutty Girls. And I have been working on Songs for Slutty Girls for the past 12 years. It's the second show I ever wrote. And if all goes according to plan, and I think it will, we should be doing an off-Broadway run of that show in the spring. Fingers crossed. Here's hoping. If it doesn't happen in the spring, it's going to happen in another time. I feel so confident that this show is going to go somewhere. And that's my goal for it, is for it to have an off-Broadway life. And then I'd love for it to be a long-running off-Broadway show in New York, a la Titanic. And then I would love it to have a life in places like Nashville, London, Las Vegas. And then I'd love it to be in colleges, black box theaters in colleges. This show is perfect for. So yeah, that's what I've been working on recently.
Wait, how do you get a show off Broadway? Because that's a huge accomplishment.
So I think how you get a show off Broadway is a lot of fucking luck, but also just preparedness and continuing to do the show. My process here has really been, I have submitted Slutty Girls for a bunch of things for the past 12 years. I've self-produced concerts of it. I've self-produced readings of it. And then in 2019, I had a angel investor come on who said, I want to fund this. And for the past 6 years, she has funded everything that we've done. So it's the first time that I wasn't putting my own money in. 'Cause that's the other thing that people have to realize is if you're a writer, you're not making money off of that 90% of the time. For the first 10 years of my career, I was working to put money into self-producing my own stuff. And it would be amazing if I broke even. I never profit unless I'm being commissioned to do something. Like I got commissioned to write a show for Nebraska Wesleyan University a few years ago. That was the first time I'd ever been actually paid to do my writing in that way. But all this to say, 6 years with this angel investor who was fronting us all the money to do this. We did a show in London and then we did a show in February of this year. And we got a new team around that. And they invited a bunch of producers and investors to that show. And one of them walked out of it and said, this is ready and I want to take this off Broadway now. We think that this is possible. So now I am in the process of signing an option agreement with that producer to give them sole rights and exclusivity to produce this. And what they're working on is getting investors to fund that. And then all it is going to be is finding a space. And that's just who's going to rent to us, who will rent us a space. And then can we fill enough butts and seats to continue to make that a continuous run?
I will get every butt that I know in those seats. I'm so excited. That is so cool. What is Songs for Slutty Girls about?
Songs for Slutty Girls is a year in the life of one 21-year-old woman as told by 4 aspects of her personality: head, heart, hips, and gut. And together they take her through her 21st year of life with sex, love, and self-discovery. If I had to give it to you in one sentence, I would say it is a slutty version of Inside Out.
That's a great description. Songs for Slutty Girls. You made another show that I got to go see in Brooklyn. Tell me about that show as well.
Yeah, so I have written 5 musicals. I have a 6th in the oven that's being birthed right now, but the one that you saw is a musical called Ghostwriter. And I actually started writing it during the pandemic as a concept album. I've always been obsessed with pop stars. And so this show follows the story of a pop star named Kay, who is in a romantic relationship with her manager, ends up having a high-profile divorce from that manager and break, and decides to reinvent herself alongside a ghostwriter that she meets and ends up falling in love with. And my idea is that this would really just be a concert version of that album that's happening in real time, where you get a few like other vignettes. So it almost feels like a fake pop stars concert is kind of what I'm going for. So that one's still very early stages of development, but you can listen to the entire concept album on Spotify and Apple Music right now. It's called Ghostwriter.
Is Songs for Slutty Girls also on Apple Music, or where can folks find that?
Also on Apple Music and Spotify, but that one's just a 5-song EP of just 5 songs from the show. We actually are going to be doing a concert on October 21st at 54 Below, a concert version of Songs for Slutty Girls. And we're going to be actually recording a live test album from that show. That will also be on Spotify and Apple Music in the near future.
Tell me, what is this 6th show about?
Yeah, the 6th show, I think, is going to be called Canceled, or The Great Cancellation of White Bisexual Women in Open Relationships in Bushwick.
I love that. I love that. It's got to be that one.
And that's going to be a show about a woman who desperately wants to be famous at all costs and decides that the best way to do that would be through creating an investigative podcast series. And she hears this rumor about a underground club of women who have been canceled recently, and this is their support group. And she decides to infiltrate that support group to use it as the catalyst for her investigative podcast series. Ends up doing chaotic, terrible things that ruin her life with all of these women who are part of this group. Of course, she ends up being found out by Jason Sue. I don't want to give away the ending.
I like the premise. I can't believe you've worked on 6 shows. Most people start a play, they start a musical, and they never finish it. They spend years just tinkering, and it's never done. What do you say to somebody who can't seem to finish their first play?
Just finish it, even if it's bad. Just write an ending. Write, honestly, I need to take this advice from myself more often, but write the worst version of it. Be like, I am intentionally going to write the worst ending possible. Guess what? You finished your play. Now you just have to go fix it. And the rewriting process takes years and years and years. And to that, it's hard for me to get in a room and rewrite. I'm not going to sit down and be like, today's the day I do rewrites on Vengeance, which is one of my shows. That's not going to happen. I need a catalyst to make that happen, which is usually like I submit it for something and then I get accepted. So now I'm forced to do the rewrites because I'm like, God, I don't want anyone to see it in this shape. I need to rewrite it and make it better. So yeah, that's what I'd say. If you haven't finished your show, finish it. Write the worst version of it. If you just have a first draft, that's a complete show, period. It's probably not your best draft, but it's complete. And the rewriting process is 10,000 times easier than shitting out that first draft, which is the worst part of writing. I hate writing, Aiden. I hate it. It's the worst. I love having written. Having written is fun. Writing, every time I finish a draft of a show, every time I'm like, how will I do that again? I have no idea how I'm going to do that again because it's so hard. It's not fun.
How do you know when it's ready to go live? How do you know when it's ready to be tested with actors? Because I imagine some people will write a draft and then rewrite. How many rewrites do you do before you say, okay, time to bring this thing to life?
I have done typically when I write a first draft of something is that I send it to my brain trust. So like these are people who are my friends who I think have great taste, who I trust to see my work at its baby stage. And typically what I'll do there is I'll invite people over to my house. I'll say, I'm going to ply you with wine and pizza, and we're going to read my show out loud together. And that is a really good learning session for me to hear what it sounds like with other people. And it's low stakes. Like, I'm not doing this for the public. I'm not doing this for actors or producers. I'm doing this with my friends so that I can hear out loud how lines sound. Because there have been so many moments where I'm building this in my head and it sounds good in my head. The first time I hear it out of someone else's mouth, it's very easy for me to be like, that line does not work in the way I thought it would. And you can only learn that by having other people read it. So that's what I always do to start. How do you know it's ready to start having professional people come in? You don't know when it's going to be ready. You have to mess up in front of those people sometimes. I do not think that any of my shows are like, they're done. I never have to touch them again. Slutty Girls is the very closest to that. I think I am very close to never having to touch Slutty Girls ever again and it just being set. And it's ready. That takes a long time. That's an iterative process.
All this work, the writing, the rewriting, this is a lot of time. And you work in tech. Your day job is you make big money in big tech. There are a lot of people out there who say, how could I possibly write a musical? I don't have time. I have a day job. How do you balance your day job with your passion?
It's really hard. You have to carve out time. I actually think it's been much easier for me to be creative and write having this day job in tech that I like, and it pays the bills and it makes it so I can live in New York City, and I love that. But it means the time that I do it to write, I have to be really intentional with it. Like I can't just kind of fuck around. So I have to actively carve that out, like whether that's 2 hours after work or in the morning or on a weekend or when I'm on a vacation. Honestly, the place where I do my best writing is on a plane because I don't have access to Wi-Fi and I can't get distracted by anything else really because I'm on a fucking plane. Honestly, been where I write my best work is on a plane.
You've got to focus because you're like, what else do I do? You know?
Yeah. It's a great place to like force yourself to do it. Something I'm going to try soon that I heard from Rosalia is she said that she wrote her last album in bed because she also talked about how she struggles to get to the like actually sitting down and writing it. It's terrible. It's hard. And she was like, I wondered what it would be like if I felt gentle with myself while I do that process instead of making it feel like a hard thing. And I was like, oh, I kind of love that. What if a writing day is me laying in bed, being comfortable writing? What could that be like? I still need to do that. Like that's the thing, Aiden. I haven't written a new thing in a year now. Like I'm writing in my brain, but like for the new show, I have a quarter of a treatment and one song that I have not yet set to music. I have all the lyrics, I just haven't set it yet. That's all I have right now. It's not a lot, but I'm also just learning to be gentle with myself and be like, you do have to continue to do it. You have to write. It's never going to feel like the perfect time to write. And I go through periods where I'm like, I can't do it right now. I just can't because my day job is too much and I need to be a person in the world as well. But then you carve out these little moments for yourself and they feel really good. And you ask people to hold you accountable. Like, I love that I got to tell you about the new show on the podcast because that's going to put a fire under my ass to have a draft of something soon.
I like that because I feel like a lot of folks are like, oh, you've just got to be really disciplined and like hard on yourself. But it sounds like you're very understanding with yourself that life happens and things ebb and flow.
It used to be that way. I believed that I had to have a very disciplined routine. And I believe that that works for some people. It totally does. And I love that for them. I had a lot of mentors who tried to tell me, like, this is the way that you do writing. If you don't do it this way, you're not doing it correctly. And every artist has a different way of doing things. And I think for me, I have really big periods of productivity where it'll be really concentrated for a short period of time. And then it goes dormant. And sometimes it goes dormant for much longer than I'd like. But I think a huge part of my process is I spend a lot of time just burning on something up here. I'd say that 90% of me writing this new show is me just like marinating on it in the shower, on planes, not even writing anything down, but just being like, what if I did this? What if this happened? And so I think I have a really long percolating period for myself. And then when it's actually time to go, I can do that pretty quickly, or try to do it pretty quickly.
It's always brewing in the background, always on your mind.
Yeah, it's always doing something. And I'm also learning from everything I'm consuming at the same time, where I'm like, oh my God, that worked so well in that film. That's a great thing for me to try for this show in this specific scene. So I think there's just so much more to the process for me. Everybody's process is different. It doesn't have to be torture. I think that's something I've learned in the past 10 years has been, you do not have to kill yourself to make something good. You don't have to kill yourself to do that. And I've done a lot of that for a long time. And I'm starting to be more gentle with myself. And you know what? I'm so much happier.
Good.
Will I be the fastest to my path to success? I don't know. Maybe I would have been faster. Maybe I would have a Tony at 35 if I had killed myself. But maybe I'm going to get a Tony at 45 and it's going to feel sick as hell.
What advice do you have for your younger self?
My sweet baby younger self. You don't know everything. Stop trying to know everything and just accept that you won't. You'll be a lot happier that way. You have good taste. You've always had good taste. It's only going to get better with time. And soon what you create will start to get closer to matching your taste level. And I'd say just keep going. It's going to get better. It's going to get so much better. Be gentler and kinder to yourself because you're awesome. That's what I'd say to my younger self.
Last question. If people want to find out more about Kailey Marshall, if they want to find out more about your shows, where should they go to learn more?
Yes, you can go to KaileyMarshall.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at KMarshland. Follow me on Spotify, Kailey Marshall. Go listen to Songs for Slutty Girls and Ghostwriter on Spotify. I've also got some stuff on YouTube and SoundCloud, but all of that will be linked on my website. So just go to KaileyMarshall.com and watch this space because I think we're going to have big things happening soon.
This is so exciting. I can't wait to see your new show. I can't wait for show number 6. Also going to be amazing. This was incredible. Thank you so much, Kailey.
Thanks, Aiden. Appreciate you.